Hello friends and enemies. Welcome back to Happy for Now. It's me, Isabel, here with a Romancelandia monthly mini, I don't even know, because literally sat down to film this. Some other stuff happened, but first things first, I do want to give a big content note about the episode, this video. I am at some point going to be discussing sexual assault and childhood sexual abuse and assault. So I want to tell you that now. If that is too much for you, I'm going to tell you before I do it, and I will give you a timestamp right down here to skip to, and I will have it in the chapter markers so you can skip that part if you need to, if you're still curious. Let's kick this off with the Dana Isley plagiarism accusations that were thrown at her by Eros. So if you're new, Dana Isley kind of blew up last year a little bit. She writes a lot of novellas. She has a friend group of authors, as many authors do. And this friend group all were part of Eros's Patreon, where he reads different stories and says things in his like very, I guess, sexy voice, whatever you want to call it. It is a form of sex work, first things first. And I don't think people recognize that. His Patreon is a non-traditional form of sex work. There's nothing wrong with this. I think it's great. I love that he's able to monetize this and make money off of it. I think it's awesome. But he came out and said that he severed ties with an author who he had voiced a audiobook for. And everyone obviously immediately went to Dana Isley because that was like one of the first audiobooks he did, and that was Games We Play, this cover. I've talked about it on my channel, which is part of why I feel like I should talk about this here. And you know, I had to piece together a not great timeline. So this all happened on February 24th. So yeah, he posted this huge Patreon post. I will link to it down below. I'm not gonna read it word for word. It's very long. You can also listen to him talk through it, saying that he believes he's been plagiarized by an author, and he's cutting ties off. And this followed a big explosion of some people on Booktok reacting negatively and like in a very cruel way, I guess I would say. So one of the first TikToks I saw on this day was Willow Winter saying, you know, why is everyone believing a man? And, you know, we do need proof of this. We need to see like side-by-side comparisons, which in every other plagiarism thing I've covered on this Romancelandia situation, we have had side-by-sides of, you know, the plagiarism. I do think that is a normal ask in this situation. And she gave an example of a few times she's kicked people from her groups because she was told by someone that they were plagiarizing and they actually weren't, and other things like that, and just some not great things, which again, I get this, it makes sense. Things get thrown around a lot in Romancelandia. We definitely, as a community, can jump a little too far when these things happen, and I think that's what I saw happening. We also got some great authors weighing in, like Zoe York, talking about how you can't copyright tropes or themes, which again, obviously you can't copyright tropes or themes. That makes sense and is absolutely a valid situation. And then we had a whole bunch of other people posting TikToks about how romance is for women by women. No, that is incorrect. That is a very terrible way to explain the romance genre. We will get into that later. Fast forward, we've got a couple days of like people posting and reacting, and you know, they're yelling at people for listening to a man and how dare you, and branding that as feminism. That's not feminism. We need to listen to victims. We also sometimes need to sit back and listen. This next part is gonna be the part with the sexual assault stuff. So on February 27th, Eros posted about how he was a victim of sexual assault as a child by a female family member, and Dana Isley would message him chapters glamorizing the assault he had as a child to read, and he did not read them, but he said it was very like harmful for him. Also just very weird. And then he also came out about a Discord server he was on where her and some other women were in it with him and would send him unsolicited nudes and pornographic videos. Consent is a big thing, and this is sexual harassment, and this is not okay. And this totally is a different tangent off of the plagiarism thing. So like we have like two branches basically, I feel like now, because this is just so wrong. I cannot express to you how mortifying this entire thing is to me that someone felt like this was okay. Then as the time progresses, we see that some other things with Dana Isley came up. In December-ish, she accused Molly Doyle of plagiarizing her for using Christmas lights to restrain a character in her book, because Dana does that in Dipped in Holly, and she claims it was her idea and she's trying to say it was stolen. We also see that her book Flames and Starlight is being called a complete mirror to ACOTAR and / like plagiarized from ACOTAR. I've not read this book. I do not know. I couldn't find any page by page comparisons again, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's ACOTAR, here's Flame and Starlight, but the reviews definitely reflect that the book is a very close mirror, if not plagiarized version of ACOTAR, which is bold to say the least. And Dana Isley kind of just posts a blanket statement that she's in contact with her lawyer and she will not be addressing this. And then AC McCammon, goes on her Instagram stories and posts a bunch of stuff. I will link to those down below if you want to go watch them. There is some proof. I'm going to throw up the best comparison I found right now for y'all to review before I give you my feelings on this and talk about it. All right, so you saw the comparison where it kind of shows some beat for beat things. So where do I stand personally as a reader? I'm no longer going to be supporting Dana Isley's work. I have went and retroactively made all my reviews 1 star. I do this not to review bomb the author, but to keep my mental list going of authors I won't read personally. This is the easiest way for me to do that, so that's what I did. And I think that it was really kind of horrifying to watch how quick the community on Booktok was to deny someone because it was a man coming forward with a statement. It was really kind of scary to witness for me. And it was also scary to see the amount of language around for women, by women still being used by people, when romance isn't just for women. It's not just by women. We have plenty of trans and non-binary and male authors in this community, and you are just saying no to them. We also have readers who are not women in romance, and the entire concept of the romance genre comes down to you want to read about people falling in love and finding happiness, finding that HEA, finding that HFN. You know, you want happily ever after or happy for nows when you read a romance. And we as a genre cannot push forward past the criticisms we get and the sheer amount of negative things we get thrown at us if we also don't sit down and listen and take criticism appropriately, and also welcome others with open arms. Because we should not ever be saying that our genre is only for women. Again, it's alienating. That is not what this genre is anymore. It never was. And it never was only written by women. There are old romances that were written by men with female pen names and other people. Like, it's not just men, like, obviously. But I'm just saying, like, you don't know what someone's pronouns are, and you're making a lot of assumptions here. And I don't think it's valid to sit here and say that romance is for one subset of people. Is romance shit on because it is traditionally viewed as a women's genre? Yes, but we cannot push past that if we continue to label it as such within our own community. We need to do better. We need to do a lot better. I love romance because I love love, and I love reading about people falling in love, and I love how we can pack so many different things into romance, and that's important. I think the only requirement to love romance as a genre is to love love and reading about it, and nothing else matters. None of your identities or anything else matters, and you know, we as a community should open you with welcome arms for the most part. Obviously, I can't control the whole community, but that is my viewpoint as what we should be as a community. Yeah, it was really disheartening to watch this all go down on TikTok over the weekend. I think it's really hard. It's really hard also, I will note, to pull a lot of these videos because a lot of people took them down, which is valid. They realized they were wrong. They took them down. We are allowed to make mistakes. I didn't see a ton of apologies, but who knows with the TikTok algorithm. That was the TikTok stuff. It was wild. I definitely think also on both parts, it could have been handled better in general. Both Eros and Jacqueline, his writer, were a little defensive on people wanting proof. And I understand, like, if they've not been around this before, like every other instance where like we've had authors plagiarize, we've had like side-by-side comparisons. And you know, we didn't really get that with this until pretty late in the game, to be honest. So there's that. I will have links to a bunch of stuff about this down below, but I just wanted to give a quick summary of what happened. And then the next thing I want to talk about is ableism and the problem in romance sometimes with ableism. Literally the day I'm filming this is Friday. This goes up on Sunday. And Cora Reilly posted her new book. And it is quite the plot summary, which I'm going to read to you word for word. And I hope that people that watch my channel are able to spot the red flags. So it is A Touch of Fate by Cora Reilly. Her blurb on this book. First of all, we have like the hot man on the front and then a wheelchair on the back cover, as you can see here. The blurb is, since a car accident as a child, Emma Mancini is bound to a wheelchair. In a society that values its women for their beauty, she's seen as damaged and undesirable. When one of the most sought-after bachelors of the Chicago outfit agrees to marry her, she knows a deal between their families must be the reason. Her suspicions are confirmed when Samuel treats their bond as a tiresome duty. Samuel Mione is crippled by guilt and bitterness. As a future underboss of the Chicago outfit, he doesn't have time to take care of anyone, much less open up to them emotionally. For him, the bond to a woman like Emma means another unwanted obligation. But Emma is someone who resigns herself to her fate. She's overcome greater obstacles than a cold husband and is determined to show him that she isn't the burden he feels. I'm gonna call out some red flags here on this text for y'all. So let's call out some of the ableist language in this text and what threw up big red flags for me that we maybe didn't have a sensitivity reader and we're not open to some criticism on this. I also have a couple of replies already. So first things first, bound to a wheelchair implies that every wheelchair user is like forever stuck in them, and that is not the case. It's very ableist to say someone's bound to a wheelchair because this is an accessibility device that allows them to move through life and live their life, whether they are a wheelchair user that is ambulatory, which means they can stand up and do things, but they also need it at times, because that's a thing. That is a thing. I also want to note that considering her being called a burden as someone who's disabled is really, really harmful. And we also have the word crippled in this, which is an ableist word that we should not be using. And it's just, this entire thing here is a red flag, this whole description, this blurb. And it's disheartening because I honestly haven't read Cora Reilly yet, and I really was hoping to read Cora Reilly this year. And we've had some people call her out on the comments, but so far, I stole this from my group chat I'm in, is that, you know, can we have a chat about not making disabled characters' personality traits being that they're a burden? And Cora did respond and said, Emma has grown up in a very backward thinking society, so she faces a different kind of discrimination than most people. Emma is a very strong character, as you'll see in A Touch of Fate. Despite her challenging surroundings, please don't judge a character before you've read the book. I don't think I will read this one. I don't know if I will read any Cora Reilly now, but I do think it's important that, like, as a community, sometimes we take a step back and learn about ableist language. So I thought this was a good opportunity to share this, talk about what's wrong with it. And also I wanted to share some other words with y'all that are also ableist. I'm going to link to some things in the description for you that cover that as well. But, you know, it's really not difficult to replace some of this language we use with words that don't harm others. And I am very curious to see if Cora responds to this. If she does, I will let you know in my next Romancelandia update. I do know some people that have reached out to her to talk to her about this blurb and what is harmful in it, but we're not sure obviously yet if she will or not, because this literally happened the day I'm filming. You know, I just think that we can all do better with our ableist language. We all have room to learn. We cannot be perfect. I am not perfect. No one is. But I just think, like, it's very easy to start learning about these things and take steps to be better. that is it for this month's Romancelandia monthly. Let me know how you're doing. And yeah, I'm gonna share some resources about ableist language down below for y'all to check out. So please do read that. And again, links for stuff about the Arrow situation. And that's all I got for now. I'll be back when there's more news to cover on Romancelandia. I hope y'all are having a wonderful day, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.
Already packing, come with me. I'm not really asking. We'll get away to a place where we don't know. About to see the world in action, what we can be, life with no distractions.